Hello, everyone, and welcome to the sixth episode of the Lebanese Biodiversity Podcast. My name is Mira, and I am an entomologist. For this episode, I will be interviewing Sandra Sleiman. Sandra is a researcher working on fungi. We will be talking about the fungal diversity in Lebanon and also her work on the subject. I hope you enjoy this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. So, hello, Sandra, how are you?
Hi, Dr. Mira. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you very much for being here today. I'm very excited about this episode, and let's get right into it. So, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Of course, thank you for having me in the first place. I'm Sandra Sleiman, born and raised in Akkar, but my passion led me to Beirut when I wanted to pursue my university degree, and I got into biodiversity. And I did my master's on biodiversity management and conservation of natural resources, where actually when I started my master's, I thought, no, how can I do a change in this country? How can I do something new in the field of biodiversity? And one thing that got into my mind was that there are no research on mushrooms in Lebanon. Nobody have done that. Only two previous ones, one in 1953 and another in 2006. And I
Okay.
started my study and I started my studies in 2018. And I'm like, خلاص, this is my chance. I'm up for the challenge. I know it's gonna be very challenging. I talked to my professors. I'm like, this is what I have in mind. And they're like, okay, Sandra, nobody can help you. بس يلا, you're up for the challenge and you can start. And that's how I started my journey with wild mushrooms.
Okay, this is awesome. So, did you start getting interested in wild mushrooms when you were in university, or is this a topic that you were already interested in before?
Honestly, I was fascinated by the environment as a whole, especially that I live in Akkar, a very rural and environmental region. But I never knew I had those passions for mushrooms until I started my master's. Um, because I started hearing a lot of stories that so many people are picking up mushrooms from the wild, and so many death cases are happening, especially in my region. And there's no cure for it. Nobody have done anything previously on it. And I'm like, this is my chance to maybe make a change socially and environmentally. And that's how it started. And honestly, once I did, it was very stressful for me because I had zero data to start with, and I had zero knowledge because throughout my 4 year university degree, nobody taught us on wild fungi, which is very sad that these creatures are always understudied and undervalued, not only in Lebanon, but also in other regions or countries. And I thought to myself, maybe I'm going to be the person who will bring those to the light and talk about them even more and more and study those creatures.
Okay, I see. So you are one of the first people to study this in Lebanon extensively, or the first person to study this extensively. Can you tell us a bit more about your work on mushrooms in Lebanon and what you are currently working on?
Yes. So, as I said, I started in 2018 with only two research done in Lebanon that I can do a reference to.
Okay.
Uh, and it was very hard. So I started looking up for references in Cyprus, Greece, Turkey, some in France because it's there. They have similar ecosystems and habitats. So I started researching there to just to check or to expand my knowledge on this topic. And then I started doing field work. It's for me it was the way around. I started my field work and then I expanded my knowledge. on this
Okay.
topic, not like other people who yeah, exactly, who read the books first or learn about different creatures through courses. Mine was the way around. So I used to go on field, get anxious because those are very invisible species, hard to find. And sometimes I get so unlucky when I go on field because they're not there. So for me, it was the way around. But luckily, and since there are only two other researchers done, um, my data or my analysis came up to be one of the most diverse. And the final outcome was adding 62 new records compared to the previous two, which means that we have a huge diversity of wild fungi in Lebanon. Eight species that could be new or novelties to the world. And I was very lucky to name one with a mycologist from France who found the same species in France under pine
Okay.
trees. And we found it here under fir trees or Abies silicica.
Hmm.
And we named it together, and we have published a new species to the world found in Lebanon and in France. This was
Okay.
this is one of my most proud of research I've done.
Can you tell
Uh,
us what did you call it?
yeah, of course, it's Cortinarius genus. We named it Cortinarius ruphomerus due to its
Okay.
color. Yeah, it's more closely related to chestnut wood, so Merus is related to that.
Okay.
Uh, so we named it like that, according to its color and shape. Um, and also, in addition to all of that, four species are rarely cited in any literature related to the Mediterranean. So,
Okay.
coming up, coming up with such results gave me a huge push to continue the studies, even on a personal level, because we all know Lebanon is going since 2019, where I actually was still doing my research. There's a huge economic crisis, COVID hit, and so many things paused in the country, but I did continue my research on a personal level, and now I'm transforming to other types of research I can talk about later. But yeah, this is what we came up to.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for this recap. This is really exciting. So we have a lot of new species for Lebanon, so new records for Lebanon, and we also have new species to science.
Mhm.
So the next question is, if you want to convince someone to study mushrooms, how would you explain their importance in the ecosystem?
First part of your question, if someone is not interested in something, you cannot convince them no matter what.
Okay, so maybe let me just ask the second half, which is what is the importance of mushrooms in the ecosystem? And
Uh,
basically, why are they worth being studied?
mm. So, as we all know, a lot of people fear mushrooms. There is something called mycophobia around the world.
Okay, I didn't
Because
know that.
yes, there are mycophobias around because people fear them. One, because they only appear for a short time. You do not see them all the time around you, like trees and plants or any other creature that pass by. And they are always hidden in the forest. They kill us in one way or another.
Okay.
They have toxins that if we mistaken any edible mushroom to a poisonous one, we could die in like 24 hours without even knowing that we got poisoned from mushrooms. So it's a very critical topic, but I do not like to stress on this because they have so many far potential than just toxins in them, and we can benefit from them in different ways. In the ecosystem, they play three main roles that are very, very important for every ecosystem health. One role, which is يعني on top of all the roles, is that they
Mm-hmm.
play symbiotic relations with
Okay.
plants or host plants. So what they do is the mushroom, first of all, the mushroom that we see is only a reproductive organ of a higher fungus, which is a network in the host, mainly underground, called the mycelium. We can هيك imagine it as the roots of mushrooms, but it's not roots, but it looks
Okay.
like it, like a fluffy white threads. They're called mycelium. Once the conditions are optimal for them, good weather, humidity, type of light, they sprout a fruit body, which is the mushroom. So the mushroom equals a fruit body equals the reproductive organ. Its only purpose is to spread spores. We can imagine spores as seeds, but we cannot see them in our naked eyes. We need a microscope to see them. But if they are disseminating in chunks, we see a cloud of dust.
Okay.
So we can imagine it as a cloud of dust coming out of the mushroom. These are the seeds of mushrooms that are called spores. So the mycelium plays those main roles. One huge role, as I said, is symbiotic relation with different other creatures, mainly trees and plants. So it like it breaks a deal, not a breaks, it does a deal with the plant. It tells it, okay, I will give you the immobile nutrients that you cannot absorb through your root system. But in return, you need to give me 10% of your sugars that you formulate through photosynthesis.
Okay, that sounds like a fair deal. I'm sorry, I
It is
lost
a
my
fair
voice a
deal.
bit. That sounds
It
like a
is
fair deal.
It is a fair deal, and almost 90% of plants and trees do have symbiotic relations with fungi. So they're everywhere.
Okay. We always have the impression that plants kind of magically are able to produce what they produce, but what you're saying is they are often helped by mushrooms to be able to
Yeah.
grow and produce oxygen.
So yeah, they help them absorb immobile nutrients from the water or from the soil that they cannot absorb through their root system.
Okay.
Uh, Also, يعني, since they are around the root system of trees and plants, so the mycelium does not only play symbiotic relations through enriching trees with nutrients, but also plays as an underground Wi-Fi network for trees to connect and talk to each other, especially if one tree gets attacked by a specific pest or a disease. It sends signals to other trees through the mycelial network to be aware to spread out pheromones or different hormones to block the disease or the pest outbreak.
Okay, this is so interesting. So it's like an alarm system that
It-
allows other trees to start working up their defenses before
Mhm.
getting attacked themselves. And what is the third role that you mentioned?
Okay, so we're still on the first role. The second
Oh,
role,
okay. Sorry. I thought this. Okay, go
it's
on.
okay. So the second role, the main role that we all know is that they decompose organic material, along, of course, bacteria and other creatures that are decomposers. So they are known to be decomposers of the forest.
Okay.
And so they break down different organic material back into the soil. So this is very important for the health of the ecosystem to recycle back its nutrients and carbon and to absorb carbon and actually store it inside of the soil. So they help us absorb more carbon and store them in the soils, which is very important for us and for the forests. A
Okay.
third, role, which for me is very هيك magical. It might not sound nice to you for the bees, but they play as parasites.
Okay.
So
It's
if they,
okay. I forgive them. They are fascinating. I forgive them.
if there is a specific a pest outbreak for a specific type of insect, especially ants, there's a type of mushrooms called cordyceps that I love so much. Each type of cordyceps is specialized with a specific insect. So if there's an outbreak, this mushroom or the mycelium breaks its brain. Okay, it spreads into its brain, and the ant starts acting very weird according to its colony.
Okay.
Because the mycelium is manipulating its brain and it becomes a zombie ant. So the
Okay.
mycelium, it sounds like a horror story, but it's true. You can search it online. You can see an actual video and footage of mycelium breaking ants' brains and turning them into zombies. Uh, they go up, they let them or they manipulate them to go up the highest point above its colony, where it gets attached through its mandibles. The mushroom sprouts from its brain and spreads its spores, infecting the remaining colony underground.
Oh my God, this is really like a horror movie,
It is like a horror
but
movie.
so fascinating. And
You
so
know,
what happens after that?
it balances out pests and different insects in
Okay.
nature. So
So
it helps
population control, basically.
exactly. So it helps trees and other creatures who find a hard time trying to get rid of diseases or insects, and it helps. So it balances out. It doesn't kill the whole colony, but it does infect a majority of it.
Okay.
And the series The Last of Us, it got aired, I think, 2 years ago. It is based on this, but it infects humans, not insects. So they based the story, which is true in nature, and they mimicked it into humans in the
Yes.
series.
When we like start looking closer at what parasites and diseases insects have, we feel very lucky to not have comparable things at a human scale, and maybe thankful that these things stay in horror movies.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for explaining this very thoroughly. So, I am convinced of the importance of mushrooms in the ecosystem and that they should be protected. Um, Now I'm gonna jump forward to the next section, sorry, which you mentioned a bit when you were talking about your research, which is the numbers. So to start getting an idea of the diversity that we have in Lebanon, can you give
Mm.
us an estimation of how many mushroom species we have, like with all the numbers that you have until now from your research and from literature, and maybe also tell us what the estimated number is, because maybe the estimated number is the triple or 10 times more than
Yeah.
what is reported.
It is an estimate number. From my own data, I have around 300 species. Compared to others, we have around يعني, a total of 1K, I would say,
Okay.
until now. Because, we have little research. After 2018, I would like to note this that different students started pursuing this, which is amazing also.
Yay.
But we haven't gathered the info, and
Okay.
different NGOs started, like UNDP, started doing biodiversity assessments all over Lebanon and in nature reserves. I'm pretty sure they have their own data, which it's not still accessible to the public yet.
Okay.
But I would love to know what they came up with regarding fungi to add it to all the history of numbers. Worldwide, it's estimated to have around 3 million species, but we only have uh, identified around 120,000 only.
Yes, that is not a lot. So there
Uh,
is a lot of work to
Worldwide.
do. Okay.
There's a lot of work to do. But yeah, in Lebanon, it's a very small number because not so many research are being done. Also, if there are any hidden in academics or institutes, we wouldn't know if they're not published or accessible to the public. But I would say for now, until 1K species, I think this is an estimate number, plus or minus.
Okay, which is already a lot. So compared to Lebanon's surface, would you say that it is very diverse?
It
Like,
is.
yeah, sorry,
It
you
is
got the, yes.
because, yeah, of course, it is very diverse because, like in my case, we have them separated over like more than 30 families and a genus. So that's a huge diversity of different species belonging to different families, not to the same one. So this shows how diverse it is. And since I took different controlled habitats يعني going over the same field, the same tree. Sometimes I have like two trees in one ecosystem just to have it more controlled. I found like more than 40 species under like two, three trees of oaks. So
Oh my God, this is amazing. Like, how much diversity is there in a cubic meter of soil?
exactly, exactly. That يعني it's fascinating how diverse, how they are all connected, how each season you find a different species growing on in the same habitat, same spot that I found a different mushroom. So it is quite diverse. We need to extensively do more research on this with different universities. I don't know, other freelance researchers. It's very important. They are very important to our own health and to the ecosystem. So we shouldn't undervalue them even here in Lebanon.
I hope that in the coming years you will be able to have more collaborations and that you will be able to grow the list of reported species. So I
Hopefully.
really hope this will come together nicely. And of course, we will be very excited to hear the results every time you have advancements in the field. So now that we have talked about their importance and how diverse they are in Lebanon. How can the public get involved? So, how can the general public get involved to protect them?
Okay, so since we started doing research, we found a lot of interest in the general public because, we have a lot of edible mushrooms.
Mhm.
Uh, And different villages are actually trained on foraging wild mushrooms. However, there are a lot of lookalikes in nature. One could be edible and another could be poisonous. So it
Yes.
is very important to know what you're foraging or what you're looking at. And here where citizen science comes to play an important part because so many people start since they knew there is a specific expert willing to talk to the public and share the knowledge. People started sending a lot of photos, mentioning different stories online. So it's very important for the public to get engaged because even if we do extensive field work, we wouldn't cover different habitats in Lebanon. Plus, as I said, they show up in a very specific short period of time. So
Mhm.
sometimes they would miss this period if you have other work or you're busy with something else. So it's very important for people to be engaged and willing to share good photos that are identifiable, of course, for us to include them in our data and for the public to know. Yani, their main concern is if this is edible or not, or if this is toxic or not, which is
But this is a good doorway. I mean, this is a, yeah,
fact.
sorry.
It is a great doorway for them and for us,
Okay.
uh, for them to get acknowledged more about them and for us to collect more data. So it's a win-win relationship.
Okay. And how can governmental entities and environmental NGOs get involved also to help? protect native mushrooms?
What should be done on a municipal level is that they should create more himas and more protected areas in their villages, especially if they have a lot of green areas and forests. So
Okay.
in that way, they are protecting the ecosystem. And since mushrooms and fungi are part of the ecosystem, they are being protected indirectly. As for NGOs, since they are trying to get a lot of funds, it's important for us to collaborate. And I can give you an example. Recently, I've been doing fungal diversity in Ehden with an NGO. So the NGO did the part of fundraising and to convince a specific donor to do a biodiversity assessment for the whole valley. So we're a
Okay.
group of different experts working on fauna, flora, and fungi. And hopefully very soon we will send you the report or it will be accessible to the public. But
Yes, this would be great.
this is important. Yani, until now, I did like 4 field visits last autumn, and I have around 60 species, which is
This is
amazing.
amazing.
Yes,
Yes.
and I haven't compared them to previous or my other studies yet, but I'm pretty sure many are very new to me. So we're gonna be adding other new records to Lebanon through this study also.
This is amazing. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing what results you will get. And so, hearing you answer these two questions, I understand that the accent is more on how the public can get involved, which is what is most important now is having a nationwide coverage for data.
Mhm.
And the public can really get involved to help you gather enough data and have a better idea of the species and their distribution.
Of course. Of course, they help a lot.
What advice would you give to people who would like to study mushrooms in particular, and people who would like to go, sorry, in environmental fields in general?
La, of course, go for it. Our future relies on the health of environment, not only mushrooms. And I definitely encourage every single person who has a single line of passion to environment or nature or biodiversity to pursue their degrees in there because we need more people doing research or even conservation and protection efforts. Nature needs us now. It's been very sick for a while, and humans are not understanding how this is affecting our everyday's life. So it's very important to have more people um, doing this and trying to protect for our own sake and of course for nature's sake and health and um, yeah, so it's very important.
Thank you for this, and I hope that people listening to this will not be afraid to go into the field if they want to. Um, to finish this off, I would like to ask you if you would like to mention any contact points to which people can go if they have questions, if they want to participate in sending pictures, for example, where can they send the pictures? If there are instructions to take the pictures so that the species are recognizable, and is there any other um, project or NGO or something that you would like us to talk about or link below the posts for this episode to close this section. Again, sorry, I'm very bad at asking these closing sections because I always throw in 10 ideas in there, but you get the point.
I will try my best to answer each part you said. But of course, anyone can reach me out on Instagram. Of course, there are guidelines to send photos. One photo would not be enough. We need around 4 to 5 photos of each feature. Anyone who wants that can send me a DM and I can explain the process
Okay.
and give a potential ID because sometimes photos are tricky or the samples are in a bad condition, so we wouldn't find the full ID, but we can get somewhere. I would like to
Sure.
highlight two projects that I'm currently shifting towards that are related to fungi. One is called ethnomycology, which is the study between the relationship of humans with mushrooms or fungi. And I haven't done any field work yet, but I'm still under the ideation. So I would love to know how our people, especially in Akkar, are related to mushrooms and how they got their knowledge, knowing that there are a lot of toxic species out there. And another one, which is right now is under construction, related to medicinal mushrooms. I'm creating a mycology lab in Akkar to try and do further research, conservation, and cultivating medicinal mushrooms.
Okay, this is amazing. So thank you for mentioning these two projects. And again, is there anything the public can do to support either?
If there are any, if you know anyone who knows how to forage mushrooms based on ancestral knowledge, I would love to reach out to. And for medicinal mushrooms, if you're an NGO or a donor, it would be amazing for your support, maybe.
Okay, we wish you the best of luck in these two projects, and we hope that you will be able to find donors and more support for your second project, which is the mycology lab. And okay, so people who know someone who knows someone who has knowledge, or if you have knowledge on ancestral foraging, don't hesitate to get in touch with Sandra.
No, thank you so much for having me and giving me the space to talk about those undervalued species and creatures.
Well, thank you very much for joining. Thank you for your time. This was a really cool talk, and we'll stay in touch.
Definitely. Have a good day.
You too.